Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust. So today we're going to go and take a step back in time a little bit and revisit a gun that I had on this channel about, 3 years ago. I made a video on a Walther CCP. When it first came out, super excited. I thought this gun was going to be awesome. It looked like a baby PPQ, everything about it, ergonomics, the slide cuts, everything. And then I wound up buying it. I wound up taking it to the range, and that same day I went and sold it. And I came back, made a pretty hot video that everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, a lot of people disliked. I've been called just about every name in the book. And you know what? I still think that Walther CCP M1 was a piece of shit, and I'm going to stick by that. Now, fast forward a few years, Walther came out with an M2 model. Didn't really see any purpose in me ever buying that gun because I had such a bad experience with the M1 that I would not do anything with the M2. However, recently they basically advertised the M2 Plus, and a lot of people saying, what does that mean? What does it mean? Was it an extension of the magazines? And I can tell you that is not. Here is your basic M2 Plus magazine. That is the same exact M1 magazines, although it does feel a little bit more robust in regards to the design. It doesn't feel like really flimsy. The old magazine felt a little bit thinner. You know, could it be me? Yeah, I think so. But, you know, I still think this feels a little bit better. Actually, it looks a little bit cleaner, too, in regards to the way they kind of made the magazine. But again, that could just be my general impression where it may not even be true. So what about the gun? What really changed on this M2 Plus? So what they advertised was two major striking points for people. So first off, you had the new takedown lever, or the takedown mechanism from the M1, which was a huge improvement. I'll give them that. The M1 takedown sucked. You needed a specific tool, and it was a pain in the ass, I'll be honest with you, to use. However, with the M2, they changed that. You basically just put in where the like the plate cover would be on the slide, you push it in, and then there was a little lever on the bottom, you slid to the right, and it would pop right out. And that's what they've maintained, and it actually works much, much better. I can definitely tell you that. However, they also advertised that on this particular firearm, they were going to be using a precision machined slide. And to me, that was interesting. And the reason why I say that was when I first looked at the gun and I first got the gun, one of the things that always concerned me at the point when I purchased it was that the gun seemed like a toy. I mean, I have a Umarex type airsoft PPQ. And the metal felt the same, the plastic felt cheap and pretty much like the same quality of an airsoft firearm. And I've got to tell you guys, I was a little concerned. And when I took it out there, the gun just didn't feel like it was supposed to be a real gun. I think that would be the best way to describe it. Now, again, some people are going to disagree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, if you look at the forums, you have people who love the gun, people who have had nothing but problems with the gun, and then people who are kind of like, you know, neutral on the gun. So obviously I reached out to Walther. I said, hey, listen, I made a review on the CCP when it first came out when I bought it. It was a piece of crap to me. How about I challenge you in sending me the M2 Plus? I'll take a look at it. And if it's legitimately a better gun, I'm going to say so. But if it's also a flaming hot turd, I'm going to say that as well. So I'm going to tell you what I found so far in the initial impressions. So here it is. This is a CCP M2 Plus. Looks just like all the other CCPs. You can see on the grip that you see that little M2 at the bottom. And then when you turn the slide around, there'll be a plus on the slide that you see. So if you're looking at one of these, just make sure the plus is underneath the actual serial number because that will indicate that you have the plus model in front of you. So the one thing I'm going to tell you right now, right off the bat from just kind of playing around with this gun for a day, was the slide definitely makes a huge difference. It does not feel like a toy gun. The slide actually gives this gun a completely different feel and weight. I'm not saying it's extremely heavy, but it definitely feels like a real gun in your hand. The old one, I didn't see that. A lot of people would say, well, they wanted to reduce the weight of the slide because they wanted to be easy to rack in place. The gun is extremely easy to still rack, and that is with their supposed precision machine slide, which again, I'll hold it up to you so you guys can see that. But this slide definitely feels a little bit better. It feels like it is a real slide for a real firearm. You'll notice also that the sights, they are advertising that any Glock 19 and 17 sight can fit on this firearm. And I found that sort of be true, but not true. And what I mean by that is that I actually had to mix and match some sights. I have two sets of sights that I still had. I had some XS RAM sights, and I also had the iDot Pro sights. So I'm a huge fan of the iDot Pros. I put the iDot Pros on here. The front sight that you see in front of you is from an iDot Pro. However, this is actually from the XS RAM sight. And the reason being is for whatever reason, the way the rear sight from the the Ameriglow sight was, it just slid in and out of the dovetailing. And I'm not sure why that is. The sight is still good. It doesn't have an extreme amount of wear, not damaged in any way, but it didn't fit in the rear slot from the slide. The front sight, no problem. I was able to get that in, but obviously I wanted a matching set of sights. The ram sight, their screw hole for the front sight sits too far back. So what happens is when you put the sight on this, you can't screw it into the spot because the hole on the actual slide here for your front sight is in the center, whereas the ram sight was too far back. So it wasn't actually sitting properly, and the sight was just moving around, and it was just not good. So right now I have kind of a hybrid sight set up. I have the XS ram sight in the back and the the Ameriglow iDot Pro front. So I'm not really sure why that is. I don't know if it's a designing flaw. I don't know if there's something wrong with the sight. I've got to see if I have another set of Glock sights in my safe. I don't think I do, but if I do, I'm going to pop them off. The only other hassle that I found with the front sight is if you want to put a new front sight on here, the easiest way to do it is you have to remove the piston that's connected to the slide. That piston is right in the way. It's very, very difficult to remove the front sight or even get a new front sight on there. So you're going to have to just punch out the pin that holds the piston in place, just enough for the piston to fall out, and then you can manipulate your sight that way. The polymer, which is also another thing that they did not mention on there, but the polymer also seems a bit more refined. It does not feel like cheap plastic. It does not feel like a Humorex airsoft gun this time. It actually feels like a real gun. So right now as it stands, this doesn't feel like the same gun. It looks the same, the ergonomics are the same, but it doesn't look the same, or I should say it doesn't feel the same in the hand. While the ergonomics are still great, the slide is still easy to the safety is still easily manipulated. Everything about this gun actually makes it feel like a real gun, a more substantial firearm in your hand. While you're not getting, a 70-pound boat anchor, you're still getting something in your hand that reminds you of an actual firearm. And that's just something that I've noticed right away. Again, the slide is also a different finish. It's not as shiny. The slide is actually a little bit more of a matte finish than the old one, so you don't get that real big glare off of there. If you guys can see that, which I think you can. But I mean, overall, right now, initial impressions are that this might actually be an improvement over the M2. Is that necessarily the case? We'll see. I'm going to shoot it. We're going to find out. I can tell you the trigger hasn't been much improved, but I'm also looking at the trigger from a different perspective. Obviously, if you're in a self-defense situation, you're not going to sit there and say, well, where? No, you're not going to be doing that. In the situation of a self-defense issue, you're going to be putting your finger on that trigger, and you're going to push down on it. And to me, the trigger's actually not that bad in that case. So again, we're going to look at all that when we shoot it. This is sort of just the initial impression of the new M2 Plus. Do I think it is leaps and bounds above any of the other CCPs? I'm not sure just yet. Do I think construction and material-wise it is? I think it is. I feel like this gun is a little bit more of a substantial firearm regarding the feel of it, and hopefully that'll translate at the range. So leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about it. If you've had the CCP M2 or the M2 Plus, what are your thoughts about it? I mean, does it feel like a different gun from the older versions? But I do believe this might actually be a step up in the right direction. But again, we're going to find out when it goes to the range, because that's going to be the real test. So like I said, leave those comments down below. Appreciate it. If you guys wouldn't mind, follow me on this channel. That'd be great. And of course, I do have a Patreon, and also 10% off at Lock Grips if you put in the code 1776. Have a great night, guys. Stay safe. Freedom is never free.